Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, autonomous vehicles, you're going to find out what that's all about, plus it's Youth Ambassador time. But before that, how about a little look at internet gaming? And you know those international airports, maybe a little, I'll explain that in a minute, slot machines, all at your disposal. All of that follows these words.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Well, we have an action-packed show. Sitting across from me is Mike Straub. He's the government reporter with WGAL, and he'll be guest hosting from time to time on the program. Mike, welcome to the program.
Happy to be here. Thank you, Terry.
All right. As I said, internet gaming could be coming, and as I said, did they still pull that lever on the slot machines? I haven't been in it.
Yeah, I think you just press a button now. You probably do it on your iPhone.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. There you go. You can do it. And that could be coming to Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I thought this was kind of crazy. Talking to lawmakers in the Capitol, this is all about finding that revenue without raising taxes. But I said in the airports, don't you think that kind of sends the wrong message? Do we want people who land in Pennsylvania for the first time to see a bunch of slot machines? Do we want to look like Las Vegas? But they said it's more like a transient population in the airports. They're not staying for long, so let's make a little money off of them while they're stopping by. So that was kind of the mentality there. But there wasn't much opposition to the airports. The opposition to this, what made some drama this week in the Capitol, is what they call VGTs, the video gaming terminals. Yes.
Okay.
So some folks were wanting to put these in bars, almost anywhere with a liquor license. So you can play video poker while you're sitting there having a beer.
And the social club people wanted them, right?
Social
for obvious
clubs,
reason.
And off-track betting. I mean, there was already some gambling going on there. And that was the stumbling block. Remember, this was a bill in May.
Yeah.
And it didn't get close to passing.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of meetings, what are we going to do this time? And they ran the same bill. And it didn't pass as an amendment originally. And they took out the VGTs.
Now let's get this clear.
Yeah.
Let's get this clear. They're not talking about all the little airports, only the international.
That's true.
Am I right about that? The international airports, whatever that means.
Yeah, so I guess just Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, maybe HIA, right. Yeah. So those big ones could have slot machines as you wait at the gate. You know, you haven't paid enough for your airline ticket. Now you can gamble to make your money back, I guess.
I get it, I think. Now let's go. The root cause of this is, as you pointed out, but this is important. Governor Wolf originally wanted $10 billion, a 10% hike in the budget. He wanted about $2 billion more. He has ratcheted that down to about $250 million for the school districts, $34 million for drug abuse programs. This is just to fund incremental spending, right? It's not big expansion of government programs. Is that correct?
That's right. And he said that now he thinks these numbers can be reached without a broad tax increase, which is a nice game to play in an election year for all these House members especially. And by his numbers, he's saying his request, he's come down by more than $1 billion on what he's asking for. And he keeps saying, he said this week to reporters, we spoke to him this week in the Capitol, that the negotiations are going very well. It's a different tone this year. He says that everybody's getting along. We'll see how that goes. He was a little bit critical of gaming. Some other members said, why do we keep having to turn into vices to find this money?
They're called the vice taxes, by the way. And you could add cigars and smokeless tobacco. Now, we know a lot of people who, out in the golf course, what are they doing? They're smoking cigars. Probably more there than anywhere else in the universe, right? So we have these vice taxes, and some people like them and some people don't. So what are the prospects this will get through the Senate? I'm putting you on the spot.
I think it's going to be good. It's always easy, I think, to convince the voters of the vice taxes. They think, well, I'm not doing that anyway. So it's easier to convince people of that and a cigarette tax and things than tell them that their income tax is going up.
All right. Thanks for coming on. Great update. We'll see you soon. All right, here we go. Autonomous vehicles. I know you're going to wonder what this is about, and it's Youth Ambassador time at the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. We'll get to those subjects after we pay some bills.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, now celebrating 100 years as the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania State Education Association and Partners for Public Education, bringing the power of a great education to our schools, our students, and our communities. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Well, we're keeping tab on the millennials this year. Not this year, but as we've often done. Patrick Conway joins me. He's the president and CEO of the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Now, we've talked about your youth ambassador program over the years. We're keeping tabs on the millennials, right? We're going to make sure. And we got a great one here. Kelsey Bistline, I think I got that right. You're the PCUA Youth Ambassador, and you're at First Capital. And where's that at? You can tell me.
In York, Pennsylvania, York County.
There you go. There you go. All right. What's the Youth Ambassador program?
Sure. Thanks, Terry. It's a program to encourage young credit union professionals to get involved in the industry and in their community. And we have a contest. The association's been doing this for about 40 years. Bright young professionals from all over the state compete in local contests. And the winners of the Chapter Youth Ambassador Contest compete at the statewide level. And Kelsey was awarded the 2016 contest at our annual convention. So she's off to a great start.
So let's find out a little about you. Are you in college? You in high school? What is it?
No, just working.
Oh, you're working.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I've been out of school for about 8 years now. High school for 8 years. So
Okay.
I've been working and just kind of working my way up. So.
Well, there's see, one thing we can say about the millennials, they do work a lot harder than people think. You're called the entitled generation, but I have found as a college professor, students motivated, work hard. I mean, I don't buy into this that young people don't care about things. I'm just not. I'm not into that. All right. So, what did you have to do to get where you are now, as the winner, as the youth ambassador?
Sure. Well, it was a lot of hard work and obviously dedication. Basically, the whole process started back in the fall of last year. I did have to compete in a York chapter competition back in November. So I was preparing for that, and then upon winning that competition, then I was practicing all these months up until May, when I actually had the state level competition that I attended. So it was, prepping for.
When you say practicing, what did you do?
I had to do a speech in the fall, and then also a speech at the convention at the competition in May. So I was practicing. Giving my speech, putting my speech together, as well as practicing, knowledge-based information as well, because we had to take an exam at the competition in May, as well as interviewing, because we had to interview with each of the judges.
When Patrick's been on the show for years, and we talk about budgeting and go ahead.
Financial education, reality fairs for kids in school, and credit unions are all about giving people a good, solid foundation when it comes to financial literacy. And the Youth Ambassador Program is really an extension of that. It's a great program, as Kelsey said. The exam, the interviews, the speech. It's a great experience.
So, when you say you were practicing and then writing, it was in the areas of financial education, correct?
Correct. And just, in general, like as far as just other, like I said, credit union knowledge, and just looking at, being, as prepared as I could be for the competition, and just, in general.
And so I guess you learned things that we talk about. You got to watch the interest rates on credit cards. You got to watch whether they're variable or fixed. He's smiling over there because these are things they've been helping consumers with for a long time, right?
Yep. And it's stuff that I do every day. Being on the front line as an MSR, all of these things are just second nature, and you're, keeping up and keeping tabs with all of that. So, yeah.
Now,
for sure.
day to day, do you actually go in and work in the credit union? Is that?
Yeah, that is, like I said, I'm a member service representative. So basically, I'm working on the front lines every day, and then I'm also very involved in our youth committee at the credit union. Going out and doing financial literacy and that kind of thing as well. So those are big passions of mine.
So it's a full-time job. And are you out meeting people in the community, or are you mostly focusing in the office itself? Or
a little bit of both. Like I said, my main position right now is, on the front lines in the branch. But every opportunity that I get to go out and do events, and to go out into the schools to go to junior achievement, I'm eating up all of those opportunities as well, for sure.
Well, one other thing, when you're talking about what you do you get into contact with other Gen Y, what's that? Millennials? You get my point. I'm joking now. Gen Y, another name for millennials. We'll get to that later. Do you work with folks in your age category or all ages?
Yeah, we have, a couple different programs at the credit union. We, have been going into high schools for a while doing budgeting seminars, financial freedom, how to balance a checkbook. And we're also now starting to go into elementary schools, teaching kind of the save, spend, and share idea.
Yeah.
So like I said, and also when we have members coming into the credit union, is working with them, even how to fill out a deposit slip. And, so you get to have those influences, on a daily basis as well.
Now, before I let you all go, you have come on here and you've talked about the programs that you have in the schools. Add to that, because that's, in a sense, very similar to what she's talking about here. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Lots of credit unions have branches in schools across the state. And credit unions are in about half of the 500 school districts across the Commonwealth, Terry, as well. And so we've got credit union professionals coming in, working with kids to educate them on, financial literacy. The reality fairs that Kelsey's participated in and our credit union leaders have sponsored around the state. It's a fun way to really, show the real world experience to kids living within the budget, and that sort of thing. So it's really a big part of what credit unions are all about, is helping give that foundation of financial literacy.
Well, great. Well, good luck to you. I'm sure you're going to be successful. And thanks for coming in and doing the program. This is one, autonomous vehicles. People are going to. You don't need people to drive. Well, you think you know what that's all about. We got Bob Latham coming on. He's going to straighten us all out. I'm not backing. No, we'll talk about that later.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania, and by the Pennsylvania Coal Alliance, representing companies involved in America's most affordable, reliable energy source. To learn more, visit betterwithcoal.com.
Well, Bob Latham joins me. He's the Executive Vice President with the Associated Pennsylvania Constructors. He represents these folks you see out fixing the roads and the bridges. Do I got that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're ubiquitous right now. We'll get to that. You can't turn a corner and not see a road or a bridge being repaired. We'll get to that. But first of all, I want to get to this. We were just talking about millennials. Maybe this whole business of autonomous vehicles is a term and a practice that's coming that maybe the millennials will get more than I do, but you're going to help me understand it.
We're going to talk a little bit more about something other than just concrete and steel today, Terry, and I think it's very, very interesting looking at it. And we talk about autonomous vehicles. Of course, what we're talking about are driverless cars. In other words, a vehicle that you literally get into, and it's a remote control, I guess, if you will. And people might say, well, that's out in the future. Well, I look at it this way. 5 years ago, did anybody envision going on their cell phone and ordering a cab or ordering a driver to come pick them up? And now Uber and Lyft are ubiquitous throughout society. It's not a very high, it's not much of a leap in order to get to,
maybe a little scary for older folks? I don't know.
Well, possibly, but as far as that's concerned, when you look at folks that maybe are too old to drive their own car, to have a vehicle come get them on demand is really something that could be helpful. Now, PennDOT has created a task force to look at this because it's going to have some implications on transportation policy, transportation funding, our infrastructure needs, and what. Actually, it really has the potential to alter society and how we deal with transportation.
Now, I've picked up on various newscasts, incidents that have been reported, of the use of it and I guess the experiments that are underway. But is your point this is closer than we think?
My point is this is closer than we think. Absolutely, and I think where Where it's going to go first is in commercial vehicle traffic, particularly trucking. We're already looking at the possibility of what they call platooned trucks. That's almost like a train of trucks that are...
Do I have to drive behind them?
You know, actually, one of the things is that you're looking at possibly driving with them. In other words, your autonomous vehicle would link up to this train and go down the turnpike.
Now you're really in the future.
Well, but not that far. That's the thing. Now, when I talk about those trains of trucks, now they're going to be controlled speeds, so no longer trucks going too fast. Hopefully, that'll reduce accidents. Maybe we'll be able to take advantage of existing infrastructure, or will we need another lane for those trucks to go at 55 while other vehicles are going 70? These are things that are going to have to be worked out in the future.
But if we look ahead, this has big implications for A, how we get around, B, for infrastructure development, right?
Absolutely.
Just to mention, too, the design things you've pointed out.
The other thing is it's going to have implications on land use planning. Because think about it. Right now, one of the factors that are driving people to want to stay in clusters or maybe closer into the urban core is the fact that commutes are very difficult. There's a lot of congestion and that sort of thing. Well, imagine this. Now your 40-minute commute isn't so bad because you're just sitting there. You're either getting work done, you're watching a video.
I can sit in the back of the car and do some work.
Read the paper.
Like you're on a train or on a bus, right?
So will that encourage people to move further out? And what are the implications on land use planning and transportation there?
I get it.
I'm not saying that that's the case.
No,
I'm saying that some people are saying we need to keep that in mind.
All right. Well, you're going to keep us posted on this as the years go by. All right. As I said, you can't turn around and not see a work crew. Are we in unprecedented renovation, if you will, repair of roads and bridges, historic? This seems to me,
let's go back.
This is just anecdotal.
Yeah, let's go back and look at some of the things you and I have talked about over the years, and leading up to the Transportation Bill, Act 89 in 2013. We are now seeing the fruits of that.
Right.
Not just in construction, but in also some innovative things that PennDOT are implementing. If you look around the Harrisburg area, for example, on the Camp Hill bypass of Carlisle Pike, we have something called adaptive signaling. And you can see right now that there is better traffic flow through those areas of red lights. The cameras, I guess, if you will, sense the traffic and they keep the red lights or the green lights going and keep things moving. Also on Walnut Street in Harrisburg. So we're doing things with technology and not just with concrete and steel. But that we still have to keep doing pavement repairs. We have to keep fixing our bridges and we do this during the summertime. You know, we have a winter in Pennsylvania, and we can't work during the winter.
All right, we're going to run to a break. When we come back, I want to talk about where the money that was originally supposed to go for roads, into transportation now, going to the state police. That's an important issue. It's been a big debate in Harrisburg. We'll take that up, and maybe another subject after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, advancing quality, improving lives. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Business Council and by the Pennsylvania Business Council Education Foundation.
Well, Bob Latham is on the program with me. We bring him in from time to time. He's the expert on all things transportation. All right, motor license fund and state police. What's the motor license fund?
Very simply, that's the pot of money at the state where when you pay gas taxes, when you pay registration fees, that money goes in there The Constitution of the Commonwealth says it should go to pay for roads, bridges, and then it has this word safety. Unfortunately, as there have been pressures on the general fund, and that's a pension issue that nobody seems to want to deal with in earnest. We talk about it in the out years. What we've seen is more and more the legislature is sort of taking money out of that highway fund or that motor license fund and using it to prop up the general fund by bolstering the state police budget, money
so
going to the state police. And we're looking at $755 million a year. I mean, that is 12 cents of the 55 cents gas tax that we have now. So people need to know that when they look at Pennsylvania, oh, we have the highest gas tax. Well, your General Assembly is taking more and more of that money out for non-road purposes. So, you mentioned about going around and projects and highway projects and repair. That's going to continue. We'll start to backslide if we don't do something about that issue.
So the issue here is not that we don't want the state police to be funded well. The issue here is the legislature has taken money that should be going for roads and bridges in a fund that was created for that purpose. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you summed it up very well.
And then they're using it to, support the state police operations, correct?
Basically, it's propping up the general fund. That makes it easy for, that way we don't have to face the ultimate question of do we raise revenues for general fund purposes?
Yeah. Well, the inevitable question is this going to change? I mean, the big question. See,
we're in the budget. We seem to be in the end of the budget season now. Where we've asked the General Assembly to cap it at last year's. We think that's reasonable. We're just saying, hey, let's stop it at where you were last year. And right now, the Legislative Budget and Finance Committee, that's sort of the state's general accounting office, if you will, or congressional budget office. They're doing a study of where does the state police spend its money, and so how much of that is actually going to highway patrol. We concede that there is a reasonable portion of their budget that goes to highway patrol.
Because they're out on the highway doing important.
We can fund that with the gas tax. That's fine, but it's not $755 million. It's got to be considerably less than that. Once we identify that number, then we have to find a way to walk that back.
Yeah. All right. Before I let you go, do we more money in roads and bridges? I know, as you know, I'm neutral on a lot of things, but this is the one thing when we talked about before, we have to have safe roads, and they have to be able to get people and the business community. We're not going to attract businesses and keep jobs if we don't have a infrastructure, and part of it is road.
Our interstate highway system, even under the Act 89, we are lacking the money that's needed to upgrade that. I mean, it'll take 81 again out here in the Harrisburg area. Accidents almost every day.
No kidding.
And that road is a 1960s design highway that is not, and let's go back to our little autonomous vehicle discussion we had earlier. If we're going to have those trucks on there, we're going to need additional lanes. We're going to have to provide for that infrastructure. Congress did not do its job. They did a stagnant highway bill, so at least we didn't lose money. But yes, we're going to have to address funding.
Well, thanks for coming in. You'll come back soon, and we'll get another update. I want to know more about these autonomous cars, and we'll see.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next week for another edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, stay well.